Hello, very glad you could join us this Monday morning. And this is Off the Press, where we bring you the major headlines from the national dailies. And I am, as you know, Amaka Okoye. With me in the studio to analyze major headlines on the national dailies are social commentator Femi Osasona and legal practitioner Ike Ekweremadu. Welcome you both to Plus TV Africa. Welcome to Off the Press. So there's a positive energy. Is that what you said?
I said it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. Okay, so we have so many dailies right before us. Shall we begin now with this day, which it says Buhari clarifies directive on forex, says no ban on food imports. This has been raising dust, by the way, the whole weekend. And following persistent revenue shortfall, presidency queries FIRS boss. Ife, do you want to speak to us about that?
Yes, I mean, I know that typically when these sort of queries and accountability are always called into question with key staff or key members of government, that you find that there are internal workings that we are not privy to. And I don't know, I hear that Fowler is going to make some sort of, have some sort of response today. But I also would like for us to just think about this from the very general terms. Like for at least, you have to look at all the different factors that are playing in right now. For one, what are the different factors that we would have to look at the variance of what is projected and what is actual? Between the years of 2015 to 2019, there has not been any FDI. The FDI has gone down tremendously. You also find that another factor you would look at as well is the fact that all revenues are down as well. And the currency has been more or less devalued between the period of 2015 and 2019. So when you think of these three factors, you begin to wonder how Mr. Fowler is going to manufacture these numbers or these figures. And
we leave that for him until when he gives the response, because, sorry, it's not cutting you short. We take the headlines and then we'll come back again to banter. So join APC, still on this, is join APC before your party dies. Oshibajo mocks PDP members. Falana calls on federal government to publish names of naval and police detainees. And we also have here, Bayelsa PDP group condemns campaign of calumny against Alaibe and others. Nigeria can be poverty-free in 2030, says Femi. That sounds good.
Of course, I mean, it sounds really good, but is it achievable? That's the question. I mean, it's easy to say, but is it achievable?
Is it achievable?
Yeah, if you're saying Nigeria can be poverty-free in 2030, so what are the plans? These politicians, the government office holders, do they have any plans to make the nation poverty-free in 2030? Do they have any plans?
So are you saying it's just maybe mere conversations?
I mean, oftentimes we hear a lot of good things from politicians, but do they actually put these things into place? Do they work towards actualizing some of these things? They don't.
So until 2030, we're not sure.
So let's wait.
Let's wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, they are the one in charge of making things happen, right? They are the one in charge of the government finances and everything. So if Nigeria is going to be poverty-free by 2030, I mean, I think government has the large percentage of work to do in this particular aspect. So it's just more than talking about these things. So let's wait. 2030 is almost here. I mean, about 20 years ago, we were always, 2020 was like 100 years from now. In 4 months or 5 months now, I'm sure we're going to be in 2020. So let's wait to 2030 and let's see if they can actually make this work. And of course, we'll see.
I'd like to understand where they're actually coming from, especially since Nigeria for the first time has hit top 5 of the poverty index. So you're beginning to wonder, okay, so if you've hit top 5 of poverty, is this a response to us, being at a really low point in our, at a really low point in our, or is this actually achievable as Osas has said here? So you have to really ask the question: what is the driving force behind these sort of declarations? Okay,
so can we see what Vanguard is got here? It says Nigeria to spend 2.53 billion on 43 ministers. That's plenty amount of money there, and that money is going to do so much for this country, if you ask me. And somewhere here.
I mean, the figures that have been blown around by political holders is just is terrific sometimes. And you discover that sometimes, I mean, look at the issue of minimum wage now. Just 30,000 approving 30,000 for as a minimum wage. I mean, we've been going back and forth on this. But when it comes to this guy approving huge amount of money, I mean, over the weekend I heard each senator is about to get a 50 million naira worth of SUV.
Wow.
I mean, these guys, they find it very easy to allocate very large amount of money to themselves. But when it comes to stuff that involve the masses, we're always going back and forth and dragging feet. So I don't understand.
I also think that we have to actually look at this from a bird's eye view as well. What are we doing with 43 ministers? 43 ministers, and that's not even including different parastatals, different agencies. And you begin to wonder, okay, if we had maybe, for example, maybe 30 ministers, would this figure look a bit more realistic or more palatable for the minimum wage earners in this country?
Okay.
Yeah, and also you also want to look at the breakdown of the different categories of what each of them is going to earn as their emolument. And you begin to look at really archaic and backward figures and budgets and budget requirements or budgets and provisions. And you realize that, okay, what are we in this day and age? I know that we have newspapers. I know we have plenty of online presence. Why are we allotting 303,000 naira for newspaper allowance in the digital and technology age? That is mind-boggling. Right, that is mind-boggling.
We're supposed to get whatever we want from soft versions.
Exactly.
Soft copies
and
of
also,
it.
you also find that even within the ministerial position, we don't know. I couldn't tell you right now what each minister's portfolio is at the moment. And because of that, you begin to now sort of try and analyze what these budget requirements are. What are each minister, for example, a Minister of Agriculture may have different requirements or different needs to a Minister of External Affairs.
Ify, hold your thoughts there. Okay. I can see you're delving into it. So we have also here on the Vanguard, it says, Taraba police killing, army captain engaged welder to remove handcuffs on Wadume, and banks borrowings from CBN to hit 23 trillion, I believe, by year end. And IPOB's attack on Ekweremadu, warning to Igbo leaders. I feel, Osas, you want to say something?
To be honest with you,
what are your thoughts? It's been making the headlines since over the weekend.
I mean, when I saw this news, I mean, it wasn't a very good projection of image for the country over the weekend. I mean, I read a story about a certain Invictus Obi, the cyber crime and all those. From there, I saw another one about Samsi Siasha, match fixing allegations, and over the same weekend I saw this. I saw this one how Ekweremadu was being molested. So about Ekweremadu, for me, I feel that this is basically a reflex action of a corp that is overfilled of different angers from the citizens, agitations, and a lot of things. I mean, though I condemn the action of the people, but then it's a ripple effect, because these things now, once this is started, a lot of something similar, similar occurrences are going to take place. Governors are going to be, once they traveled, they are going to be accosted during their travel, their travels abroad and all the other.
They should be worried now for their safety.
I mean, they should be worried, of course. I mean, it's something that is condemnable, but then we have to worry about a lot of things as well. We have to worry about the image of the country, because you can't just go out and start attacking people outside the country. It leaves a very bad image on the country. I mean, of course, we have a very terrible image already outside the country.
That's
but then,
shame.
I mean,
that's a shame.
Yeah, we definitely don't need to make it exacerbated at all.
A man like Ekweremadu shouldn't be. I mean, this is a guy that's been in the Senate since 2003. I think.
1999.
Is it 2003?
Yes.
Okay.
He's been in the Senate for 1999.
He was a deputy Senate president for
12 years, actually.
I mean, so this is the kind of person that I mean, I feel the citizens should hold at a very high place, and this is the same person that has been attacked by the citizens. So it doesn't leave. It leaves a very bad taste on the situation of the country, and I mean, it's a condemnable act actually.
And then, if Catholic bishops decry insecurity in Nigeria, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Catholic bishops typically have had a really bad rep.
They've been accused for being silent. you know, sometimes not coming out. But this time, they are talking and saying, you know what, there's insecurity, what do we do?
Well, I think it really isn't, they can make a commentary, but I think really it's really down to the government to really address these issues. They can only influence as they are, you know, as respected members of society. But ultimately, there's hardly anything they can really do about it. So.
Hardly anything they can do. Okay, so we'll come back again to the nation, where you had already talked about Presidency queries, FIRS boss. Yes. And then we says, IPOB targets Southeast governors Modo Buratai for attacks abroad.
This is exactly what I was saying. Because this is what this is going to translate into. Eventually. Okay, so now, online, there are two different views to this. Yeah, so some people were saying Ekweremadu was attacked because he hasn't contributed so much to his
nation development.
Yeah, to the nation development, to his state, to his local government and the likes. While some people are saying the attack is strictly based on IPOB. IPOB having issues with Ekweremadu for the fact that he's been silent on the several steps taken by the president in the case of the Python dance, that he didn't mention anything, he didn't support the Igbo community and all the like. So it's been two different, but whichever way we are looking at it, is a very, I mean, it's a devilish act. It is not to be supported by any part, any clan or any group. Whether it is APC, whether it is PDP, it is a condemnable act. It's not something that is, it leaves a very, very, very sad taste on Nigeria, actually.
And the nation also has something here on El Zasake. It says, in touch original scene, and talking about all that is going on about El Zasake seeking asylum and not seeking asylum, the government accusing him, and then his members accusing the federal government. What are your thoughts?
Well, you see, my problem is political, I mean, people in political powers, they started all these things. So
how do you mean?
Somebody was, yeah, I'll give you an instance. A lot of all these political office holders, once they have a court case, they have a court case of stolen funds and the likes, the next thing you're going to hear is they have diabetes, they have what's it called, like the situation of what's her name, Okonjo, what's this, Dizani. Yeah, so these guys, they started all those things, and this is the same steps that El Zasake, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is a step that the guy is following. So he discovered that the only opportunity for him to actually escape from the country is to pretend as if he's ill. Of course, you can't stop him. You can't stop him from going abroad to get
medical treatment.
So I think the plan for him was to try to get a medical treatment, and from there probably do one or two things, and boom, you're not seeing him in the country again. But well,
he's back again.
The plan is not working for him. So,
Ife, I see you nodding in affirmation. What are your what's your take on that?
I just generally think that using asylum or using medical treatment as a reason for asylum will, for people coming behind you, right, may actually not help them, because ultimately, if you're trying to sort of trying to take advantage of the system, you know, and you don't have any medical conditions or any other reasons why you're seeking, that they are not on real grounds, then it will make it even harder for the person coming after you with actual reasons, genuine reasons for seeking asylum.
Okay, so the Punch here says fear spreads in flood-prone states as September rains loom. Oh, this thing of September rains, I never used to believe it, but it seems it's true. So we don't know whether it's the climate change or... I
have to applaud NEMA on this. I mean, NEMA has stepped up. The Hydrological Society have stepped up.
Sure.
I mean, these are things that we see in America when they have the state of emergency in America, in Louisiana, in different states in America. This is sort of action we want Nigerians to take. This is the direction we want Nigeria to go in. I mean, and they're even telling us the exact states, the exact locations. This is data that. And
in fact, Lagos is even mentioned there, that Lagos must prepare for heavy rainfall, flooding. NEMA says, and 65 erosion sites threaten Abia Cross River already flooded. So, like you said, they are giving us the information way ahead of time, and then to be prepared. Here also on page 4 and 5 of the Punch is tension as Yoruba Hausa clash in Lagos market.
I mean, this is something that we've seen time and time again. I mean, it happened with the Igbo traders a few years ago.
Yeah,
it's just a very, very tense and politically charged environment, the market. Because markets, at the end of the day, is our economic backbone in Nigeria. And that's a lot of where the revenue is generated, especially at a lower SME level. And so you're always going to find a tussle between different groups on trying to sort of establish their presence in those sort of places. And unfortunately, this will happen over the weekend, and we're hopefully not going to have any.
The Punch also has the same Ekweremadu issue, saying Senate says attack shameful and others slam IPOB. You know, so many are blaming IPOB. And then there's something here, federal government protests BB Niger live sex, plans alternative show. What are your thoughts on that, really?
Well, as funny as it sounds, I don't understand what they mean by because I'm not sure. I'm not sure I've seen any live sex.
I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm not a big
fan of it.
I'm not a big factual entertainment person, but I know what regulations are. NCC is actually quite strict, so I'm not surprised that this is the position that they're actually taking. But at the same time, there's always going to be a balance between what is considered entertainment and what is considered, I guess, for lack of a better word, what is proper and right, and according and aligned with their regulations. Exactly, where to draw the line.
Because if they say virtue stands in the middle, so we should be able to see this virtue.
Well, that is true. That is very true.
In the middle. And on page 3 also we see Obasanjo expresses concern on division among Yoruba monarchs. Page 4 and 5 says 8 arrested during initiation into 1 million boys. Sounds like, well, and then Lagos cabinet nominees meet assembly. Sanwo-Olu inaugurates councils on Tuesday. Here also it says 8 UI school pupils sue varsity over hijab. What do you think on university students having to wear hijab or not? Some time ago it was in the news.
Again, I'm going to always look international and outside Nigeria in terms of how they have addressed these sort of issues. And I also know that in Paris or in France, for example, there was a big outcry, especially and a lot of the Muslim community in Paris and in all other parts of France, there was a big outcry about them not being able to express themselves the way they want to. So I think this is basically something that you have to look at and make sure that people are able to dress how they want to and do what they're able to do in terms so that they're able to get the best out of their education.
Osas, I saw you.
I mean, to be honest with you, some of the issues that are being discussed in our universities today are just pointless. Some of the issues being discussed in our university are pointless. Why do you say so? We have serious issues that needs to be tackled. Yesterday, I was just discussing with a person the institution of hostels in Nigerian universities, public universities. It is terrible.
Appalling.
These are some of the things. I mean, universities in foreign countries are already looking at how to build up students in artificial intelligence, virtual reality, robotic intelligence, and we are here discussing about hijabs. Nigeria is a mixed religious country, so why are we discussing?
Do you agree?
I actually do not agree. I think you have to look at a person's fundamental rights before you can even look at whatever it is they're going to achieve in life, technology, knowledge, not all of that. The first thing you have to look at is that person allowed to be expressed themselves as a human being? Because everything emanates from that. So if you don't feel comfortable in terms of being able to express yourself, how are you going to be able to learn about artificial intelligence?
Hijab doesn't stop you from learning artificial intelligence.
But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. At the end of the day, you'll be very surprised how uncomfortable somebody that is not wearing what they know they're supposed to wear religiously. I look at religion as basically peeling lots of different layers. So you have an onion, right? You have all your thoughts, all your ideologies. But in your core is what your belief is. And if your belief isn't taken care of, most other things will generally tend not to follow. That is my own personal view.
So you feel maybe this should be taken care of, every other thing
and
fall in place.
Because at the end of the day, why do we have human rights? Why do we have human rights? Why do we have specific? These are these are issues that are core to us being human and very core to our being.
Okay, so we have something on sports here. I don't know who speaks sports among you, but however, there's a good news, which I'm looking for. The good news about the Nigerian Tigers. It will be completely impossible if we don't have it here. But did you hear the good news?
I was very, very happy.
Did you hear the good news?
Yeah, of course.
We beat Senegal.
So, yes, we are making news. I mean, there's something to cheer about sports. And that's it. And PSG open to Neymar loan. That's on the back page. Madrid to make final attempt to sign Pogba. That's still on the back page. And Real to set to make late 60 million bid for Erisken. Also on the back page, Aribo hits a 4th goal in 8 games. All of this. Oh yes, here it is. The Tigers
great.
are Afro basketball champs again, but you know, it's just somewhere here.
I'm so happy for them. I congratulate the women. They have worked extremely hard to get to where they are. They have done this 4 times already. And I think that the same incentives that they give the male counterparts,
they should get
the same counterpart. I mean, look at, we had was it $15,000 for each time they win, for each stage
each goal
of the
scored, right?
Yes, for each goal scored. So why don't we adopt that same incentive
for them?
For the Tigers? Because they've done things that even the Tigers have not yet achieved. I'm sorry to say, but it's true.
No, but no offense. You can see the chair there. Yes, we all. I mean,
they've done remarkably
reading
well.
it this morning, I was also quite excited to think that this happened, and we share in their joy, like you have said. And that's it on our review this morning. Thank you, Ife, legal practitioner, for your thoughts, and thank you, Femi Osasona.
Yes,
but it looks like you prefer to be called Osas, but anyway.
Of course.
All right, thank you, Femi Osasona and Ife Oji, for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And that's
Sincere
it.
Pleasure.
All right, that's it on Off the Press. Thanks for joining us, and I am Amaka Okoye.